Hi everyone, my name is Ritam Sarmah. I'm a student working at UCLA HCI Research, and on behalf of my amazing collaborators from UCLA and Carnegie Mellon, I'm excited to present to you Geno, a developer tool for authoring multimodal interaction on existing web applications. So intelligent voice interfaces have exploded in popularity in the past few years, and products like Siri and Alexa have demonstrated that users appreciate certain advantages of the voice modality, namely the convenience and efficiency of just telling a computer what to do. Now, what happens if we consider voice input in the context of web apps? Well, we get a lot of additional benefits by enhancing accessibility for impaired users and the expressivity of the pre-existing mouse modality. Despite all that, we currently aren't seeing many voice-enabled web apps right now, and we asked why. Well, we think one of the major reasons is that implementing voice interfaces for web apps is challenging and time-consuming for developers. It requires writing new code and refactoring existing code. Many web developers don't have much prior experience with natural language processing, which is often a complex specialized area. And there's a lack of consistent methods for creating multimodal interfaces, specifically for combining voice seamlessly with a prior mouse-based user experience. Which leads me to introduce Geno, a developer tool for adding voice input multimodally to existing web apps without requiring significant NLP expertise. Let's take a look at the end user's experience when using a Geno-enabled app like this calendar. In the bottom right, we see a voice UI overlay, which Geno automatically adds for speaking voice commands. To change the calendar to a different view, we could click on it and say, change calendar to week view. Now, if we want to move an event to a new date, it's as simple as hovering over the event and saying, move this to next Tuesday. And sure enough, the event gets moved to the next week. We'll next look at the developer's perspective and using Geno to build the interactions we just saw. The high-level workflow follows 3 steps: specifying a target action, configuring the voice input, and optionally adding multimodal context. First, here's a quick overview of the Geno IDE. From left to right, you can see a file explorer, code editor, and a browser app preview. Opening a project in Geno automatically generates all the necessary library files in the workspace to get the developer up and running. To create our first user interaction, or what we call an intent, we need to determine a target action to be triggered by the voice command. We can choose a pre-existing JavaScript function by just clicking on a circle next to it, or alternatively, we can choose a sequence of UI interactions by demonstrating them within the web preview. And when we're done, we see the same popover for configuring our voice input, which we'll look at how to do next. To configure our voice input, we first add a unique intent name, and then add example utterances that the end user can say to trigger the corresponding action. These examples are actually used as training data for a custom language model for the app. Now, if we have function parameters, like in the case of moving an event name and date, we can teach the model to extract parameter values from the utterances by labeling them in each example. So clicking on an example opens up a secondary view where we can label entities with the corresponding parameter name. In this example, birthday party is the event name, and April 15th is the new date. Once we're done labeling all the examples, we just trained the model, and now we have a fully functional voice interaction in our web app. We can now make this intent multimodal, which would allow a user to select one or more HTML elements via hovering or dragging as input. The selected element or its attribute values can be then passed directly to the target function as some parameter. For this example, we want to allow the user to hover over an event to provide the event name. So we first select a target parameter from the dropdown, click the crosshairs, and demonstrate our multimodal interaction in the preview. Geno then extracts the HTML attributes which can be selected to be used as the parameter value. We evaluated Geno by using it to implement multimodal interactions for various scenarios, including searching for related news articles, manipulating complex 3D models, and adding songs to a playlist in a music player. We also asked 8 developers to implement 4 multimodal interactions across 2 web apps, the calendar and music player. Within an hour, 6 of the 8 completed all of the tasks, and we go into further detail on their experience in the paper. If you're interested in more details and further discussion on our work, feel free to check out our paper, as well as our GitHub code, which is accessible through this link. Thank you.